today we're going to take part in some of the Keweenaw Peninsula history. We are going to a copper mine, see if we can find some copper. We are at the Quincy Mine in Houghton, Michigan, which is home to Michigan Tech. I've never been in a mine.
I'm excited. I've never been in a mine, so I'm really interested to see what that's like. But just the history of this area is all started because of this copper mining, and so the whole reason why like a lot of the people came here is for mining. So just a lot of history for the area.
And we were told the copper boom took place before the gold rush, so we're talking early 1800s. All this stuff was, they discovered the copper, and they actually discovered it from the Native Americans, the ancient Native Americans, because of the quality of the copper products they had. So that's when prospectors started coming up here to check it out. So sadly, we're not allowed to film on the tour.
All right, so this is the man car that they used to take men in and out of the mine. On each seat, 3 men needed to sit on there, and then it went up 10 rows. So they would fit 30 men on there at a time. And imagine if you were a taller man, then your knees are kind of over the shoulders or wrapped around the man in front of you. Or if you're larger or skinnier man, you're just kind of squeezed up inside there. But you see, there's no handrails, side rails, or anything. And so one of the things that they are not allowed to do is put their hands out, but also they made them lean backwards because going down the shaft, there was a lot of jagged rocks, and there was, I don't know, maybe 1 foot or 2 feet between their head and the wall. And so if they leaned their head forward a little bit, you would get hit, and it can go up to 36 miles an hour coming in and out of that shaft. So you obviously wouldn't want to put anything out there not knowing what you're going to hit, because it's dark and they are not seeing where they're going or what they're doing.
The Quincy Mine was known as a dry mine, but one day a week on Sundays, they would unload the ore cars, put on the water skiff, and just once a week dump some water out of the mine shafts. And this here is one of the cars that would carry ore, and at shift time they would switch out a couple of these cars with the man carriers. You just look around and there are ruins everywhere around here. I mean, these mines were, again, they were just cities unto themselves that were fully self-sustaining and efficient. So here we are at one of the man engine shafts. Hello!
Nature is definitely trying to take over, though.
Whenever there's a shaft, there's a building straight across, and that's where the engine room was that controlled whatever was going up and down in the shaft. So if you're out exploring and you find a mine shaft, odds are, in line with it, you'll find the engine room. Oh, another little tidbit of information. Here at the Quincy Mine, the steam hoist used to haul all the ore out of shaft number 2 is the largest steam engine in the world, or steam hoist in the world, because shortly after it was installed and operational, then they converted and started going to either electric or diesel. And you might be wondering how they communicated from down in the shaft topside to the hoist operator. Although telephones were around, they didn't use them, because on this particular mine there were people from all over the world, and about 12 different languages were spoken here. They used a very simple bell system, and a guy down the shaft would pull a line, ringing a bell up to the hoist operator, and through the bell code the hoist operator would know what to do. Very cool. The shaft house is so high because as ore is being pulled up through the shaft, there are actually 3 different levels depending on the type of ore that they're extracting. So depending on the type of ore they're extracting, they dump it on the certain levels, and then that gets loaded into different rail cars. So you have different rail entrances and you have different ore levels. So here's a closer look at one of the dump stations in the rail car. And then here we have another rail line coming in with more cars picking up a different kind of ore again. Here are 2 remaining locomotives that they still have here at the Quincy Mine. So now I'm standing in front of what would have been like for a miner. This is one of the houses that would have been provided. They would have paid about $1 a month for rent. And, oh, hey, there's the miner's wife now. Let's go talk to her. Well, hi, I'm Dan from Exploring Land and Sea, and we're doing a show on the Quincy Mine. I noticed you're a miner's wife. Would you like to tell us about what it was like being a miner's wife back in the late 1800s?
Well, I absolutely can. You see, my name is Elizabeth. And in this little house, this is a company-owned house, of which we pay rent in order to live in. I have 9 children. So with the 9 children that I have, along with myself and my husband, we spend a lot of time in the kitchen because my husband doesn't make a whole lot of money mining. So I have to do all the laundry, all the bathing, all the cooking and everything in the kitchen. So come on in. Here's a picture of me.
Oh yeah, you got your hair done.
Got my hair did.
You got your hair did. You're wearing it different these days.
So we moved in here in 1913. And every day I spent my time in this kitchen here. And I had to use coal to not only cook for food, but heat my water and use for heat in the winter. We don't have indoor plumbing for the bathroom. We do have indoor plumbing only in the kitchen. So we have an outhouse that we went to use. We call it a privy outhouse that we went to go use the bathroom. But pretty much our whole life was spent in this kitchen because with 9 kids, I'm constantly cooking and cleaning. And then my husband was working 10, 12-hour days, so he was never home. In his 35-year career, my husband had only missed 2 days of work, one of which he was given on a special holiday, thinking maybe because he was a great worker. And the other one, he missed a day because he fractured his skull in a mining accident. I would give him a day off rest anyway. But then one day he went off to work and he never returned. He died in a mining accident. So after he died, I was able to stay in this house with my 9 children for about another 5 to 7 years before then I moved out. Yeah.
Fractured skull and only took 1 day off of work. Crazy. Oh, you got a sewing machine. Do you sew?
Yeah, I've got 9 kids to clothe. We do a lot of hand-me-downs.
Today we are at the Cliff Mines in the Keweenaw Peninsula. This mine was active in about 1845. That was old school steel rod and sledgehammer kind of mining. There were no power tools back then. It was all by hand, so very tough work. And this mine actually taught a lot of the miners that then went to the gold rush in California, the miner 49ers. So a lot of them cut their teeth, so to speak, and learned how to mine and the trade here at the Cliff Mine or up in the Keweenaw Peninsula, and then went to the gold rush in California.
Very cool. So we're gonna go climbing on these, they call them the old till piles. It's the kind of remaining junk that after they got out most of the copper that they wanted, then they just kind of made piles of all the junk that they had mined out and it didn't have anything good. A lot of people come here with metal detectors still because there's bits and pieces of copper throughout here that wasn't caught back in the day. And so we're just gonna climb up and over around some areas and see what's out there. Hopefully we don't find an old mine shaft by accident.
So we just found a bunch more ruins, and we're not sure. Maybe there's some vent shafts. We're not sure what these were. Again, nothing is annotated. But there's some little holes that go down, some that go back in. We're seriously standing in the middle of what was once a building of some sort. But this is considered an old ghost mine, a ghost town. So pretty cool. Again, not sure what this was, but that is one heck of a rock wall. And there's another one on the other side. Not sure what they did in here, but they spent a lot of time building it. That's for sure. Maggie, the worn out mine exploring dog. So hiking got too rough for Maggie and Love. So Julie waited back with the dogs. But sadly, I never found the mine shaft. However, did find this view. And I found the truck. So now we are at the Delaware Mine, and this is a privately owned and operated mine. The gentleman has had this, he said, for what, 43 years?
43 years
and been operating it. Yeah, a really neat guy. This is, we're getting ready to explore it. It's a self-guided walking tour. There's a video you watch that explains some of the stuff you're going to be seeing before you take the tour. Of course, going in a mine, we need our miners' hats. So, 100 stairs down, 100 stairs up. So let's go take a look. And fun fact, this mine was operational from 1847 to 1887. So for 40 years. And in that 40 years, they pulled out over 8 million pounds of copper. This area produced more copper than anywhere else in the world in its heyday.
This just looks weird because the way the ground is sloped, it just looks like you're going flat, but you're actually going down.
Yeah.
Kind of looks neat.
So that's what 100 stairs down into a mine looks like. So this is a huge room that they took a lot of copper out of, but their yield was 1 to 1.5% copper per rock, which doesn't seem great. But I guess in the 1800s copper mining world, that was pretty darn good.
Well, if you think if they took out 8 million pounds
Of copper.
And
So
it's
then-
98.5% was rock. Imagine how many pounds of rock they took out.
Yeah.
That's a lot of rock. That's too much math for me to do.
Yeah.
That's crazy. They were doing this with a hammer and a chisel. And the length, just to go up, and you're going on this 24-degree slope as you're trying to hammer up a hill and stay on a continued 24-degree slope while you're going. That is just like crazy. Like, yeah.
So here we're looking at the pump house where they house the steam engines. And then next to it is the Hoist House where they would hoist the ore out of the mines. This is what this house looked like in the 1800s when it was operating. So when a mine grows and the hoist house or the steam engine is no longer adequate to support the mine, then they build a new hoist house and get a bigger steam engine. Normally this is done in line with the shaft, but the Delaware Mine is very unique. And again, here's what this building looked like back in the 1870s. Hopefully that's showing up. Instead of having one engine work one shaft, they built this in between shaft number 1 and 2, and they had these engines, and the cables ran at angles to the shafts, and of course they just used pulleys and levers to turn the corners. And as far as they know, this is the only mine in the world that utilized that. Alright, we've been to the Quincy Mine. We've been to the Cliff Mine.
Yeah.
And now we just finished touring the Delaware Mine.
Right.
If you were up here and could only see one mine, I already know in my mind which one I would go see. Which one would you go see?
For somebody that likes a self-paced kind of thing and just read along the way and just Google as you're doing or something, I would totally recommend the Delaware one. I think it was just kind of neat to see some of the ruins, and then just that short walk downstairs. But that one's a hard toss-up. I think it just depends on the day too. Sorry, I can't answer that.
All right. For me, it's easy. If you only had time while you're up here to see one mine, I would come to this one, the Delaware Mine. Hey, thanks for coming along with us on these mining adventures. If you like this video, remember, please give us a thumbs up. It really helps us out. And if you have any questions, leave a comment. But as always, make sure you hit that subscribe button and don't forget to hit that bell notification so you'll be reminded every time we upload a new video.